Hi there everybody, it's Jo Rose of JoRose.com, numerologist and energy healer, here today with a slightly different video, but one that I may start to incorporate, and that is the energy of words. The particular word that sprung to my mind today is Brexit. Yes, it's on the tip of everybody's tongue, or most people's, especially James McVeigh in I'm a Celebrity, when he finally sees his girlfriend that he's missed intensely. One of the first questions he asks is, what's the news on Brexit? So Brexit is affecting us all, old and young, rich or poor, in the UK or outside the UK. And I discovered a posting the other day about the most used word in 2016 was the word Brexit. And a chap called Peter Wilding has been accredited with this. And he said it's not really what he wants to add to his legacy. However, it was a name that he came up with to describe what was going to go on. Actually, it was before Brexit or the referendum was even called that this word came into audible into our ears. So just before I talk about the word Brexit, I want to talk about energy and the words. If you've got any understanding of numerology, you'll understand that everything is reduced to a number and generally a single digit. The name that you were given at birth is no mistake, and it tells us so much about you. There's three things that it shares: the expression number, the heart's desire or the soul urge number, and the personality number. And what I've discovered observing or working with people is most people, because they want to fit into a society or a tribe, tend to fall into their personality number because that's how people see them. And that's how people want to see you. It is a part of who you are, but the real driving force are the other numbers in your name. So when I looked at the name Brexit, which just suddenly come to my mind this morning because there's so much going on, and I think it's the, shall we, what's the word, stop Article 50. I'm not into politics, don't really understand it, but this is the conversations that I hear. So looking at the word Brexit, I wanted to look at the expression number, the soul urge or the heart's desire number, and the personality number. And I was surprised. Well, I hadn't looked at this before, but I was surprised that it has 2 karmic debt numbers and 1 master number. So it's a really intense energy surrounding this word. So what have I discovered about looking at the word? Well, on a positive, I'm going to work positive at the moment because all numbers have a negative and a positive, and it's like a battery. It will not work without both. What we need to do is find the balance for the interaction taking place. So when I looked at the heart's desire or the soul urge of the word Brexit, it added to a 14-5. Now, if you've been watching my videos over the year, we've had, and December is currently a 14-5 energy for the universe. But it's a 14-5, and that's the first karmic debt number. Just looking at the 5 energy, what is this word telling us? It's telling us that the energy of this number is seeking freedom, adventure, and non-commitment. Wow. When we look at what the UK wanted when those that said leave were looking for, they were looking for this. They didn't want to be committed to other countries. They did want freedom and maybe an adventure to go out on their own. Or perhaps they didn't want that, but that's what they've got in the process. It's also stating it's to be free to be the self. Maybe the UK wanted to be free to be itself. When we think about it, it never took the euro. It stayed with its own currency, the pound. It wants to be without restrictions. And when we think about the restrictions that the EU were putting on us, perhaps that's what many did not want. When we look at the 14-5 of this, I just want to say it's about, the energy here is about knowing the responsibilities and finding a balance. Perhaps we didn't need to leave or don't need to leave the EU. Maybe what we needed to do was to speak up and find a balance and not be what one of the other numbers in this number is very people pleasing. When we look at the 14 energy, we're looking at the individual and a team. And so the UK perhaps wanted to be an individual, but it really also needs to be a part of a team. And it wants to create constructive freedom. We don't need to be bound and chained, and that's what it's really about. When I looked at the personality number, again, this is the second karmic debt number, it's a 19-1. Firstly, let's look at the 1. The 1, opinionated and strong, is in charge, it's a trendsetter, it stands out from the crowd. When we look at it with the 19, it's about control, for or against authority or power. Now, it's really interesting when we think about the UK or England, well, it is the UK in part of this, because if we look at the rulings of the UK, the British Empire, the Commonwealth, here we are, the UK, with so much power that we are connected to, I can't think what the current amount of countries is, but it's 50-something countries. And so we're connected to these countries, and yet we're having to toe the line within the EU. And perhaps that's what triggered us to want to leave. What if perhaps we could shine some light onto how we've worked with these other countries in the past and currently, and see how, is there a way to make this work by remaining in the EU? When we look at the 19, it's about individual and all. So yes, we want to be individual, but that alienates us. How can we be individual and connected to all? Well, the answer lies in the expression number, and that's the 33-6. This is the master number. And this number, before we get into the 33-6, just go to the 6. This number is about the responsible caregiver, community, healing, support, nurturing. It is the teacher of who we are and really why we're here. When we look at the 33-6, we're looking at the number of the cosmic parent, the nurturer, the healer. It's about joy, happiness and creativity. And it needs to promote unconditional love to heal the pain in the world. Perhaps when those that voted to leave, they were looking at healing just themselves. But what if from this exercise, from the 2 years that have passed, or the 18 months, or however long it is since we cast that vote, stay or leave, what if we weren't meant to leave? Or maybe we are, but what have we all learned? Not just the UK, but what has the whole world learned? And not just in politics, but in humanity. What have we really learned from this and the Brexit that lies ahead? On a negative, the 1 energy is really about intolerance, non-commitment and inconsistency. Perhaps we were those things, the UK, or perhaps the EU was those things. What if we could address them? If we look at the negative of the, that was the 5, the 14-5 energy. If we look at the negative of the 19-1, it's very controlling, abrupt and insecure. Maybe the UK didn't like some of the things that are going on, or maybe the UK didn't want to change for some of those things. But in numerology, in NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, we're trained to chunk up. And what if the 5 that seeks the freedom and the 1 that seeks control, what if they're supposed to chunk up until they find some constructive freedom, a way that we can come together and make it all work? When we look at the negative of this 33-6 energy, we're looking at perfectionism, self-righteousness and martyrish or martyrism. It's very hard for me to say that. Are we the martyrs in this, the UK? Or are we using ourselves because we're strong enough, because we're backed, this word has got this 19-1 in it. Are we strong enough to step up there and say, you know what, yes, we're playing this role right now, but really what we need to do is find a way for us to come together. Brexit's a very powerful and interesting word. And when we look at it, it's about being heard, hearing others and inspiring. More and more people are waking up to realise that the governments are guiding us, but they're not necessarily listening to everybody. And while the vote was cast and there was only a small percentage one way or another, and I want to bring that back to the question that was given to us here with the ability to vote was, like when you give a child the option that doesn't want to go to bed, well, you can go to bed now or you can go to bed at 9 or 10. Now might be 9 o'clock. They're going to choose the 9 or 10 because it just sounds that tiny bit better, but it's really almost now. And that was the options we had when we cast that vote. Perhaps if we knew more, perhaps if the government knew more, perhaps if there was a big conversation beforehand what it would have cost for us to leave or what we really needed to be altered for us to stay, perhaps the votes would have been cast different. It's going through now, and somewhere along the line this week, next week, we'll know whether we're leaving or maybe they will reverse Article 50. What's your views on this? What do you feel? Could you see a different way in moving forward? Like I say, I'm not into politics, but what I do know is the energy of the number. And this number has got so much power behind it. Thank you for listening. I look forward to hearing from you. Please, share your Brexit views. Like I say, I'm maybe naive like many, but it's still a part of my life. And without speaking up and speaking out about what I understand about the word, then I might as well just stay stum. I don't want that. And I'd like to hear what you want. So leave a comment below. Thank you for watching. It's Jo Rose of jorose.com.